It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I had the privilege to interview the Samford assistant volleyball coach, Sabel Sabin. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college volleyball?
Yeah, so I've always loved and been very passionate about volleyball, and volleyball has given me so much. And then the opportunity came to kind of pass on my knowledge and my experience to the next generation. And so, yeah, I think it started when I was at Northwestern. I was coaching for a juniors club team there, and I just realized how much I enjoyed working with the next generation. And yeah, volleyball is just something that I've been always passionate about, and it's been a big part of my life.
What was it like attending Northwestern and playing collegiate volleyball?
Northwestern is amazing. I have nothing but positive things to talk about that place. It shaped me into the woman I am today, as well as allowing me to grow and find some of the best relationships. Some of my best girlfriends are my teammates from there. And so, yeah, Northwestern is fantastic. I little did I know, being a California kid going into the Midwest, how cold it would be. But I think it was, it's a very high academic school, as well as athletically challenging, being in the Big Ten. And so it was a perfect balance for myself that kind of shaped me in many ways.
What was that like getting to put on that purple Northwestern volleyball jersey?
Oh gosh, humbling and an honor to wear that jersey, every Friday and Saturday, and you realize that you're representing not only yourself but your university, the staff, the people who invested in you, and so it's very rewarding, I guess, is the best way, and you have to kind of represent your school to the best of your ability.
Of course, as a player playing in the Big Ten, what was that like getting to play week in and week out teams like Ohio State and Michigan?
Amazing. That's part of the reason I wanted to go to Northwestern was the high competition. I'm a very competitive individual even to this day. And the Big Ten during those years was the reigning champ. Penn State won the national championship 4 years in a row when I was there. And so being able to compete against some of the nation's best, each weekend allows you to kind of also develop as an athlete, as a player. And so it was exciting. It was hard, but it was a challenge that I wanted as a student athlete.
What were some of your biggest accomplishments as a collegiate athlete?
I would say some of my biggest accomplishments were where we where we were as a team. I think, during my years there, we were able to kind of have a very successful year in regards to making the tournament. Personally, I would say my one that I'm very thankful for is just this last year, I was inducted into the Northwestern Hall of Fame. And so that goes into the coaches that helped shape me, as well as my teammates. There's no way I would have gotten there without each and every one of them, including who I currently work with, our head coach here at Samford, Coach Keeler Chan.
What was that feeling like when you did get inducted into the Hall of Fame for Northwestern as a player?
Very humbling. It's Northwestern has given me so much, and I feel like I owe so much of my who I am to Northwestern. And then to be recognized at that level was just very humbling, and it makes you reflect on your time during, those years, as well as everything that not only the faculty gave me, the academic advisors, the marketing team, the SIDs, the coaches, my teammates. So it just kind of it was very nostalgic being able to reflect on all of that, and then also, very gracious for everything that they've given me.
Of course, coming out of Northwestern, what was it like getting to play professional volleyball and going to Switzerland to play?
Lucky, all right. I mean, not everybody gets that opportunity, and I was very fortunate that my senior year, Coach Chan took our team to an international tour, and that's where I kind of got spotted by Bring It as a potential athlete, and they reached out to me and was like, "What are you thinking about after college?" And I was like, "Going to get a job." And they were like, "Well, what about playing a little bit?" And I've always loved being able to open my eyes to different cultures, to the world, and see new places, meet new people. And so I was like, "Well, that could be fun." And so I kind of put my name in the hat, and then 9 years later continued playing until ended up here at Samford.
How is that like during a time playing professional volleyball?
It's hard at first. It's very, you have to be open-minded and willing to learn something, right? You're going into different cultures that maybe not speaking your language or as their primary language. But everyone was so friendly. I think that's why I was allowed to, or why I continue to do it for so long, is I've made relationships. Some of my best friends to this day are still in Switzerland, and they were at my wedding. And it's just, you're able to kind of see a different level of play also, right? Coming from the Big Ten, that the level is very high, but then you go and you see international players who are all at that level as well. And so again, for me, volleyball's always been a big passion, and I've always wanted to kind of sharpen my tools and be the best I could be. And so being able to kind of see the next level was very, I was blessed to have that opportunity.
Of course, after your professional playing time, what was that like getting to coach on the club level and becoming the head coach there?
Sorry, can you phrase that again?
After your playing time professionally, what was it like getting your start as a coach and becoming a head coach?
Yeah, so I'm an assistant coach currently at Samford. I'm not the head coach. And is that in regards to what you're talking to?
On the club level.
On the club level. So like the Wildcat Juniors Club?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was back when I was at Northwestern. So that was before I played professionally. And that was very, another opportunity that came presented to us when I believe, my sophomore year of college. Our assistant coach at the time, Coach Karen Saunders, Coach Karen Mirabal now, or was Milburn, excuse me. She created the Wildcat Juniors, which was like a club volleyball, within the region. And so she offered for the current players to kind of coach, the 12s, the 14s, and 16s. And so for me, that was just another opportunity to give back to the community, and again, be around a sport that has given me so much and that I truly enjoy. And I think that was when I realized that I could potentially coach. It was never the goal in mind when I was going through college. I was pre-med originally. And then I realized that, I really enjoyed being able to teach the younger generations and kind of pass on that knowledge. So that was an amazing opportunity for me to kind of get my first coaching experience at a younger age, and realize what kind of role you could have on potential student athletes.
How was it like coming to Samford to become assistant coach and getting started as a collegiate coach?
Yeah, it's an amazing transition. So I had actually signed another contract to go overseas. It was just after COVID. And Coach Keeler Chan called my husband on we were actually driving from Illinois to California to see my parents during COVID. So everything's locked down. We were just like, well, let's road trip it out there. We can't get any other, way of transport. And on that drive, Coach Keeler called Ben and was like, Ben had worked with Coach Chan since he had arrived here in Samford. And he said that his two assistants were leaving and he'd like for us to interview. And so we prayed about it a lot and decided that was like the perfect, next step for us in having a family and getting roots in the US, because we were both going back overseas to Switzerland. And yeah, it was very, again, an opportunity that I'm very fortunate for. I'm so thankful for, Coach Chan taking a chance on me and allowing me to kind of learn under his leadership.
What was that like after you got that start, and what was it like the first time you stepped on the court as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, again, after that start, I was very humbled. I was very gracious to Coach Chan. I wanted to absorb everything. Being a player and then being a coach are two different things. And I think that's something you don't realize until you're in the field. You're like, oh, wow, there's a lot of behind the scenes work, which granted, coaches don't need to share that with student athletes, right? And so I was very eager to kind of learn everything. I had a very basic level. On the court, I was able to kind of, function in regards to giving feedback and that. But there's a lot, goes into travel, equipment, logistics, all those planning, practice planning, that you just don't think about recruiting as, a student athlete. And so, yeah, it was a different, but it was exciting. Again, it's something I've always been someone who likes new challenges. And so that was an exciting opportunity for me.
How's it been like, obviously, since you've been there, helping leading the team to 3 straight tournaments?
Yeah, so we have been to 2 tournaments in the last 3 years. And again, that is something that I'm very fortunate to be a part of. Coach Chan has instilled a culture within Samford of winning since he's been here, as well as a culture of family. And I think the relationships and how much he's invested into Samford, as well as the other coaches, Coach Ben, Coach Betsy, Coach Ryan, all of them have kind of helped. And even previously before them, Coach Dex who's currently at Mercer, all of them helped kind of shape to, what Samford is. And then now Coach Chan took over and kind of remodeled what he wanted into it. And so being able to learn from him and what it takes to on the court and off the court, I think, to win and to be in the situation where we were allowed to, have that opportunity to win and go to the NCAA tournament 2 of those 3 years.
What does a typical game day look like as a player and as a coach?
Yeah, for our players, if it's a home game, typically they're going to class in the morning. So Samford is a high academic school, and most of our kids still have classes. And so they'll go to classes in the morning, and then we'll have pregame meal together as a team. And then we do serve and pass. And then between the serve and pass, when the away team's having their serve and pass, actually the coaching staff, we play cards. So we like to kind of disconnect for a bit and play hearts, and then we get back into rhythm, and we go into the locker room and do a little bit of a debriefing, kind of like a Jeopardy, so to speak, of the scout for that match, and then we head out and get ready to take on the opponent.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
So we're in the Southern Conference, so we compete with Mercer, ETSU, UTC, UNCG, Citadel, Furman, Wofford. I think that might be it. There's 9 of us within the Southern Conference for volleyball wise.
How's that like, obviously, getting to compete against some of those North Carolina teams like Wofford and North Carolina?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think the Southern Conference is a very competitive one in regards to volleyball. As you saw in this year's, results, I think it's kind of anybody's game, and I think it's exciting to be able to kind of take our kids on the road and compete against other states and competitors.
What is that like, obviously, having those teams come home and play y'all versus obviously going, let's say, to North Carolina and playing them?
Yeah, I mean, there is such thing as a home court advantage, right? I think everyone will kind of attest to that. It's nice to be able to sleep in your own bed. You're comfortable with the court, with how the ball floats in the gym, and so I think it's definitely an advantage to when you're at home. But you also, as an athlete, you have to play everybody at their place. So you have to learn to get comfortable on the road as well.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped build for the volleyball program?
Yeah, so Coach Chan, since he's taken over, has been able to instill a culture of really, I would say, family and a really learn to learn mentality here, and one of humility and grace and integrity, and that's what's something that I value that I've learned from him in regards to like his very core to his values. And so one of the things, I think the strongest part of culture within Samford and within the Samford volleyball community is family, and we truly mean that, right? I think if you were to ever set foot on Samford's campus, everybody's very welcoming. Southern hospitality is real, and they truly care about you, right? I mean, the head women's basketball coaches across the hall from me, as well as the head women's golf coach, and I have good relationships with them, and they're checking in with us. We check in with them and ask, how their seasons are going or what's going on. And I don't think you get that everywhere. Maybe you do. I can't speak to everybody's experience, but I think that's something that makes Samford very unique, as well as our team. Our girls call each other the sisterhood, and they really do not only get along on the court, but off the court. They live together, they hang out together. They're going on Christmas breaks together right now. So I think it's a testament just to the culture that Keeler has instilled here.
What are some of the game day traditions that your players have implemented?
Oh, game day traditions. I'm sure they have their own. I know they have their locker room pregame dances. We're not involved in that, so I can't talk on it too much. Yeah, I don't really know if there's any. That would be a good question for one of our players.
What are some of the future plans for the program?
Yeah, our future plans are to continue to grow the success here at Samford, and to continue to reach our goals and set our aspirations high. We've now been to the NCAA tournament 5 of the 7 years since Coach Chan's been here, and so our next goal is to now win a round. And so what it takes to get there, we continue to put in the work on in season and out of season, and we'll hopefully reach one of our goals.
How's that been like, obviously going to the NCAA tournament and getting a bid in the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to be one of the 64 teams dancing, right? I think it's something that we don't take for granted. Our team doesn't take for granted, and it's an amazing opportunity for our kids to see what the next level is and what it's going to take. I think going to Louisville this weekend and playing, or this past weekend, excuse me, and playing there allowed them to kind of see what it takes to get to where our goals are and what we want to cross off next.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college volleyball?
Yeah, so I would say the recruitment process typically starts with an email or a phone call, or we are allowed to go scout and go to tournaments in February, and so we'll start watching kids play live, and then we'll reach out to them, they'll reach out to us, and then from there we get to know them. A big part of Samford's culture, again, is that family. So we really value the relationships and getting to know the individual, not just the athlete.
Of course, what does the official visit look like for those prospective student athletes coming to Samford?
So an official visit looks like, we've obviously had quite a few conversations, gotten to know you, and you'll come to campus and you'll hang out with the team. Whether it be a practice or a game day, you'll be able to kind of dive in and into our gym space and see kind of what our coaching styles are like, right? I think that's something that is important for student athletes to realize that every coach is different and every coach has a different kind of way of having their practices or their games. As well as this, we'll usually do a campus tour, obviously. Depending on their major, they might meet with a counselor or, a professor in that field to kind of pick their brains as well. We cater each visit differently to what the student athlete requests.
Of course, when on the road, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, so I think every coach is looking for that next level player, so the skills, but something that we really value are also the intangibles. I would say, how you're reacting to, a bad call. How are you interacting with your teammates? How are you interacting with your coaches? These are all things that are kind of like, we can't teach them, right? Your competitiveness, how hard are you letting that ball drop, or are you going for it? And so those are things that we also watch in person. You can't really see that on a highlight video.
While on the official visit, what is that like getting to see them put on that jersey for the first time?
Yeah, I think that's something that's in NCAA has allowed recently that is special for that student athlete, right? We're allowed to take pictures and for them to kind of feel what it's like to represent a university. Usually it's all smiles and some, a little bit of shyness at first, but then they get comfortable and realize this is what my future could be.
As an assistant coach, what is that like seeing them put on that jersey as a freshman versus putting it on for the last time as a senior?
Oh, it's always rewarding and sad, right? The next class is graduating out. We're having 5 seniors this year, but we also are bringing in, the new freshman class. And so it's amazing to see the transition from freshman to senior year. But by the time most of them are seniors, they're ready to leave the nest, so to speak, and go on to that next phase of life. And so it's rewarding. It is, to see them kind of develop not only on the court though, but off the court. I think a lot of them, mature in regards to their relationships and, how they are as an individual, and they kind of find themselves. That's what's fun about the college age is you take these kids that are their first time away from their parents and shape them in, or help shape them in. Obviously they do the majority of the molding, but you try to help give them some guidance into becoming, a great woman.
Have you took your time as a professional athlete into your time as an assistant coach?
Say that one more time.
How has your time as a professional athlete helped you into where you are as an assistant coach?
Yeah. So playing overseas for so long, I think I was able to see not only this different style of play and the different, coaching philosophies, but I was able to work with so many different teammates from different areas. And, you realize that your way is maybe not perfect. And there's a lot of different things and opinions in this world. And so I've been very open in regards to taking different ideas from coaches or even my teammates from other overseas, and helping them incorporate into, development of a new practice plan, for instance.
Now, as an assistant coach, what is it like obviously having your players come to you and suggest going professionally? And how has that been like obviously helping them as you've been a professional athlete?
Yeah, again, it's rewarding to help the next generation, right? So if someone comes into my office and wants to play at that next level, I've had one kid senior talk to me this year, and I'm very eager to get them going with it. I'm very honest, and then you'll find that the Samford volleyball staff is honest through and through. We try to be very transparent, and so I'll tell them about the goods and the bad, right? I think it's hard being away from home for 9 months by yourself. However, if you know that going into it and you're wanting to continue your volleyball path, I mean, there's nothing better than getting another year to play or many years to play. And so, yeah, I think it's very rewarding to share my experience and to be able to kind of answer questions to them that they might have, because it is very unknown unless, you have somebody who's been there or you currently are talking to an agent.
What are some of your future plans for building the program?
Yeah, we had a staff meeting yesterday, one of them kind of just divulging new ideas, and we're always looking for the next thing, right? I think coaches, you never turn your mind off. You're always trying to help better the team, help better yourself, and help better your players. And so for us, it's just continuing to learn and to help develop and change and tweak things little. You're not changing the whole system as a whole, but you're finding little tweaks here and there to help improve.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college volleyball players?
Yeah, to keep at it. I think to keep working hard both in the classroom and on the court. I think it's important to be well-rounded and to have the grades, but also know what it takes to that balance. I think college athletics is not easy because you get thrown into the university as well as the demands of practices and competition. And so, however, I think it's possible. And I think if you're passionate about it, just continue to work hard. I think nothing trumps hard work.
What advice would you give those players that are looking to play professionally, whether it's Athletes Unlimited or going international?
Use your resources. I think there are plenty of people out there, as well as agents, who would be more than happy to kind of help you out. And during my time when I was playing professionally, I was able to pick up the phone and talk to other, women who had been playing professionally, and they kind of gave me their ins and outs. I think it's such a small world after college in regards to volleyball. And everybody's willing to help each other out, which is amazing. I don't know if that's every professional sport, but within volleyball, the community, I think, is tight knit.
What advice would you give those college athletes that are looking to represent a national team, whether it's US, Canada, or even Mexico volleyball?
I would say very similarly, kind of reach out to those people and know what work and hard work comes in putting that forward, right? I think there's a lot of different steps that you have to take in order to reach those levels, and knowing that you can do it, as well as how much work is going to go into it, both mentally and physically. I think there is a lot behind that, and so I think expanding and not just thinking that what I'm doing is enough. I think you got to realize that you have to be passionate about it. You have to love the game. If you don't, then why are you doing it? But I think there's just resources out there that if you don't know, find that person who does know, because everybody is willing to kind of help each other out.
What advice would you give those college athletes and professional athletes that are looking to make that jump into coaching at college?
Same. I mean, it seems really redundant, but I would think if you're wanting to transition from college athletics into coaching, you've had the resources probably, right? Talk to your coaches, to your admin who will be able to vouch for you to kind of get your foot in the door of that next level, as well as pick up that phone call. I would say most coaches respond to their emails and their phone calls. It may not be immediately to your 5 minutes after sent, but everybody's been in your shoes once, right? Everybody was either a player before or someone who wanted to get into this profession, and everybody got that opportunity. And I think a majority of people are willing to kind of invest in the next generation.
What advice would you give those future college coaches that are looking to get started?
Same, like exact ditto.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the program on social media?
My handle is MSABS87.
Thank you again, Coach Sabrina, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.